Your doctor hasn't told you this yet. Not because they don't know, but because you haven't gone in for the test. And here's the brutal truth. By the time most people finally get that blood test, the damage has already been happening inside their body for 2, sometimes 3 years. But what if I told you that your body has been trying to warn you this whole time? Not through a lab report, not through a doctor's appointment, through your feet? I know that sounds strange, but stay with me. Because what you're about to learn in the next few minutes could genuinely change the trajectory of your health. And I'm not saying that to keep you watching. I'm saying it because I've spent over 2 decades sitting across from patients who had every single warning sign written all over their feet and had absolutely no idea what they were looking at. My name is Dr. Marcus Webb. I'm a general practitioner with 22 years of clinical experience. And the single most important lesson I've learned in those 22 years is this. Your body always speaks before the crisis hits. The question is whether you know the language. Today, I'm going to teach you that language. Just last month, I had a patient, 69 years old, active, no major complaints. He came in for a routine visit. Before I even ordered any labs, I asked him about his feet. He looked at me like I was asking about the weather. My feet, they're fine. A little numb sometimes, maybe. That little numb sometimes turned out to be 4 separate warning signs of high blood sugar. His fasting glucose came back at 218. He had been diabetic for over 2 years, without knowing it. I see this every single week, and it has to stop. So today, I'm going to show you exactly what I showed that patient. 9 signs that are already visible or felt on your feet right now that almost nobody connects to blood sugar. For each one, I'll tell you what most people assume it is, what's actually happening biologically inside your body, and one practical daily habit that can protect you starting today. Here's why this matters more than you might think. The American Diabetes Association estimates that 1 in 5 Americans with diabetes don't know they have it. That's over 8 million people, right now, with a silent condition quietly destroying their nerves, their kidneys, their eyesight, and yes, the circulation in their feet. The damage is slow. That's what makes it so dangerous. It doesn't announce itself. It whispers. But your feet? Your feet are the loudest whisperers in your entire body, if you know what to listen for. So let's go through all 9. Pay close attention, because one of these might already be happening to you. This is the one every patient explains away. My foot just falls asleep sometimes. I was sitting with my legs crossed. And yes, that happens to everyone occasionally, but I always ask one follow-up question. Is it happening regularly, without an obvious reason? Because if the answer is yes, we need to talk. Frequent recurring tingling or numbness in the feet is medically called peripheral neuropathy, and it is one of the earliest signs that blood sugar has been elevated for a prolonged period. What's happening is this. Excess sugar in your bloodstream slowly attacks the protective coating around your nerve fibers. Think of your nerves like electrical wires. Every wire has insulation around it that allows signals to travel cleanly. When blood sugar stays high over time, it acts like a slow acid eating through that insulation. The wire still functions for a while, but the signals start getting distorted, fuzzy. That fuzziness is what you feel as tingling. According to the American Diabetes Association, peripheral neuropathy affects nearly 50% of all people with diabetes. It is the single most common complication, and it almost always begins in the feet. Daily habit? A 20 to 30 minute walk every single day. Not a jog, a walk. Movement is the most powerful tool you have for maintaining blood flow to your feet and protecting those nerve endings. And start cutting added sugar today. Not next month. Today. This is the sign my patients describe as the most distressing, because it doesn't show up during the day when there are distractions. It arrives at night, in the quiet, when they're trying to sleep. Most people blame it on being on their feet all day, or summer heat, or fatigue. But burning in the soles of the feet, particularly at night while lying down, is a classic early indicator of diabetic neuropathy. Here's what's actually happening. The nerves in your feet have been damaged by sustained elevated blood sugar, and now they're sending incorrect signals to your brain. Your brain receives a heat message, even though nothing hot is touching your foot. The nerves are misfiring. Think of it like a fire alarm with a broken sensor. The building is not on fire, but the alarm is screaming anyway, because the sensor is damaged. That burning is your nervous system crying out for help. Research published in the journal Diabetes Care found that burning foot pain is one of the first reported symptoms in patients later diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, often appearing 1 to 3 years before any formal diagnosis. Daily habits. Drink at least 8 glasses of water daily. Proper hydration helps your kidneys flush excess glucose and supports nerve tissue. And add more fiber to every meal. Vegetables, legumes, oats. Fiber slows sugar absorption, which is exactly what those damaged nerves need right now. This is where things stop being uncomfortable and start becoming genuinely dangerous. I've had patients come to me with a blister from their shoe, 3 weeks old, that simply would not close. They waited. They assumed it would heal on its own. Most small wounds do, but not when blood sugar is elevated. When glucose levels are consistently high, your body's healing ability is severely compromised. The tiny blood vessels in your feet begin to narrow and stiffen. Oxygen, white blood cells, the nutrients your tissue needs to repair, they simply cannot reach the wound fast enough. The wound sits there, open, vulnerable. I use this image with my patients. Imagine trying to water a garden, but your hose has a serious kink in it. The water exists, but it's not getting to the plants. That's exactly what high blood sugar does to your circulation. And an open wound that won't close is an infection waiting to begin. The CDC reports that diabetic foot ulcers are the leading cause of non-traumatic lower limb amputations in the United States, over 100,000 per year. Almost every single one of them started with a small wound that was ignored. Daily habit. Tonight, after your shower, sit down and carefully examine both feet. Look between every toe. Check your heels, any cut, blister, or broken skin. Clean it, apply antiseptic, cover it. If it hasn't improved within 48 hours, call your doctor. Not next week. 48 hours. This one hides in plain sight. Patients see their skin turning darker, sometimes reddish, sometimes with a bluish tint around the ankles. And they say, "I've always had darker skin there," or "It must be sun damage." But there is a specific pattern of discoloration I look for when assessing blood sugar risk. When circulation is compromised by chronically high blood sugar, the lower legs and feet simply don't receive enough fresh, oxygenated blood. The skin changes color, a distress signal you can see with your own eyes. A study in the Journal of the American Academy of Dermatology found that these visible skin changes are detectable on average 18 months before a formal diabetes diagnosis. Daily habit. 5 minutes of ankle circles, toe raises, and calf stretches every morning. Even that small amount of deliberate movement pushes blood flow into your feet. And if exercise is difficult, simply elevating your feet slightly while you sit can make a meaningful difference over time. "Doctor, my heels crack every winter. It's just dry skin." I hear this constantly. And yes, dry heels are extremely common. But when your heels are cracking badly in the middle of summer or no moisturizer helps no matter how much you apply, that is a completely different story. Diabetes affects the autonomic nerves, the ones that control functions you never have to consciously think about, like regulating moisture and sweat production in the skin. When these nerves are damaged, the sweat glands in your feet stop functioning properly. Your skin loses moisture from the inside out. No cream fixes that root cause. Think of your skin like a sealed wall, and when those autonomic nerves are damaged, the mortar between the bricks starts crumbling. Cracks appear, and those cracks are not cosmetic problems. They are open doors for bacteria. In a foot with poor circulation, that infection can escalate very quickly. The American Podiatric Medical Association identifies chronic treatment-resistant heel cracking as a significant indicator of autonomic neuropathy, a condition directly linked to long-term elevated blood sugar. Daily habit: moisturize your feet every night before bed. Coconut oil or a thick lotion works well. Apply to the soles and heels, but never apply moisture between your toes. Trapped moisture there breeds fungal infection. And drink your 8 glasses of water. Your skin needs hydration from the inside just as much as the outside. I stand all day. Some swelling is normal. And that's true. But if your feet and ankles are consistently swollen and you're leaving deep sock marks every single evening, that changes the picture entirely. High blood sugar affects the kidneys, and it's the kidneys that control your body's fluid balance. When kidney function is impaired by years of elevated glucose, fluid accumulates in the lowest part of your body, your feet and ankles. This is called edema. Think of your kidneys as the body's filtration plant. When high blood sugar damages those filters, the system backs up. Excess fluid has nowhere to go except downward. Gravity does the rest. Press a finger into the swollen area. If the indentation stays for several seconds, that is called pitting edema, and it is not something to ignore. The National Kidney Foundation reports that diabetic kidney disease affects approximately 1 in 3 adults with diabetes, and lower extremity swelling is frequently the first visible sign. Daily habit. When resting, elevate your feet above heart level. Even a few inches on a pillow helps pull accumulated fluid back toward your core. And reduce sodium in your diet. Salt causes your body to retain water, making edema significantly worse. This is the sign most often misdiagnosed, particularly in men. What I hear almost without exception is, "I've been taking ibuprofen for the foot pain for months. I assumed it was arthritis." Sometimes that's exactly right, but sometimes this pain has a completely different origin, one that ibuprofen will never reach. When nerves are damaged by chronic high blood sugar, they don't always go quiet. Sometimes they become hyperactive. Instead of going numb, they begin firing random, intense signals. Your brain interprets these as stabbing pain, electric shocks, or a burning needle through the foot. It happens most often at night when there are no other sensory distractions. Think of a car alarm damaged in an accident, going off randomly every few minutes for no reason. Nobody's breaking in. The alarm is simply broken. A damaged nerve does exactly the same thing. The pain is completely real, but its source is nerve dysfunction, not injury. And ibuprofen doesn't repair damaged nerves. It just silences a signal your body is desperately trying to send you. A landmark study in the New England Journal of Medicine found that painful diabetic neuropathy affects approximately 25% of people with diabetes, and is frequently mistaken for arthritis or age-related joint pain. Daily habit: 5 minutes of gentle foot and ankle stretching every morning before you get out of bed. Flex your feet, circle your ankles, pull your toes back gently, get blood moving before you put any weight on your feet. And every night before bed, a gentle 3-minute massage along the sole and up the ankle. Doctor, I've always had cold feet. I hear this and I smile. Then I ask, are they cold in July? Cold under 3 blankets? Because that's when I get concerned. Feet that remain persistently cold, in summer under heavy blankets, even when the rest of your body feels warm, are a strong indicator of significantly compromised circulation in the lower extremities. Your blood vessels have narrowed or stiffened to the point where warm blood simply cannot reach the tips of your feet in sufficient volume. Think of your blood vessels like heating pipes running to every room in your house. When those pipes narrow from blood sugar damage, the heat doesn't reach the far end. The room stays cold no matter how hard the furnace runs. That cold is not about the weather, it's about the pipes. The American Heart Association identifies peripheral artery disease, caused by narrowed blood vessels, with diabetes as the single largest risk factor, as affecting over 8 million Americans. Cold feet are one of its earliest and most consistent symptoms. Daily habit: a 30-minute brisk walk every day, arms swinging, purposeful pace. This forces circulation into the feet and lower legs, strengthens blood vessel walls, and over time can begin to reverse early narrowing. Start with 10 minutes if 30 feels like too much. The only thing that matters right now is that you start. This is the one almost nobody talks about. I've never seen it in a patient brochure. Most patients never notice it themselves until I point it out during a foot exam. Sometimes, during that exam, I observe a visible absence of hair on the lower legs and the tops of the feet. The patient looks down and says, I never noticed that. That's exactly the problem. It's a quiet sign, easy to miss, but it matters enormously. Hair follicles need a consistent supply of blood and oxygen to function. When circulation is significantly impaired by long-standing elevated blood sugar, the follicles in your feet and lower legs gradually stop receiving what they need. Over time, they stop producing hair entirely. Think of hair follicles like small plants in a garden. When the irrigation pipe narrows or blocks, the plants don't die immediately. They just gradually stop growing. That absence of growth is your body sending a clear message about your vascular health. A message you can literally see every time you look at your own legs. Research published in Diabetes, Obesity, and Metabolism found that hair loss on the lower extremities correlates significantly with peripheral vascular disease in diabetic patients, a reliable and frequently overlooked clinical sign. Right now, after this video ends, look at your lower legs and the tops of your feet. If the hair is significantly thinner than the rest of your leg, or absent entirely, schedule a blood glucose test this week, not this month. This week. 9 signs, 9 chances to catch something before it catches you. Let me summarize what we covered, because I want these to stay with you long after this video ends. Sign 1, tingling or numbness. Early nerve damage from excess blood sugar attacking your nerve insulation. Sign 2, burning at night. Nerves misfiring, sending false heat signals to your brain. Sign 3, wounds that won't heal. Narrowed blood vessels starving your tissue of oxygen and repair nutrients. Sign 4, ankle discoloration. Visible evidence that oxygenated blood isn't reaching your lower extremities. Sign 5, severely cracked heels. Autonomic nerve damage, shutting down your skin's natural moisture system. Sign 6, persistent swelling. Kidneys under stress, fluid accumulating in your lowest point. Sign 7, stabbing or electric pain. Hyperactive damaged nerves misfiring relentlessly. Not arthritis. Sign 8, chronically cold feet. Blood vessels narrowed to the point that warmth can't reach the extremities. Sign 9, hair loss on lower legs, a quiet, visible marker of vascular damage progressing for years. Now, here is what I want you to do with this information. Just one thing. Tonight, before you go to bed, sit down and look at your feet. Take 30 seconds, look at the skin, check between your toes, feel for numbness, look at the tops of your feet, check your ankles, look at your lower legs. 30 seconds. If you notice even one sign from this list, call your doctor tomorrow. Not next week. Tomorrow. Because when blood sugar is caught early, in the vast majority of cases, it can be managed and even reversed through changes in diet, daily movement, and the right medical guidance. A fasting blood glucose test costs around $12 at a certified lab. For most people, it is covered by Medicare. $12? 30 seconds? One phone call? That is the entire ask. I've sat across from patients who had every single one of these 9 signs for 2 years and only found out why when the damage was already advanced. Not because they didn't care about their health, they cared deeply, they simply didn't have the information. You now have it. Your body has been speaking this whole time. Whispering, not shouting, because that's how these things begin. But now you know the language. Now you can listen. Don't let something as manageable as blood sugar quietly take your independence, your mobility, your quality of life, simply because nobody told you what to look for. Now you know. If this video gave you something valuable, share it. Put it on someone's Facebook feed. Text it to a parent, a sibling, a neighbor. You may be giving them information they didn't know they needed, and that could genuinely change what happens to them next. Subscribe to Life in Balance for new videos every week, content that matters for your health, your habits, and the life you've worked hard to build. Stay aware, stay proactive, and please, take care of those feet. I'll see you next week.